Hi, I'm Greg Jameson. I have a website called Web Stores University, and every week I interview someone else that has some new insights for our members and anyone else out there that's seeing this video on different aspects of e-commerce. This week I have Jessica Hunnicutt, and we're going to talk a little bit about 3D printing today and how that might impact e-commerce going forward in the future. Jessica, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our visitors?
Well, hi, I'm Jessica Hunnicutt. I am the owner and founder of Layers by Design, LLC. My background is that I'm a mechanical engineer turned entrepreneur, and I 3D print and sell jewelry and accessories.
Awesome. So I actually found Jessica on Etsy, and part of the reason why I did that is I was looking at an article that was talking about all these people on Etsy that are doing 3D printing things. And there are, in fact, a lot of different people doing a variety of different things already with 3D printing. You mentioned you do jewelry. Tell us, and the people watching this video, I guess, a little bit about how people perceive jewelry that's 3D printed.
Well, I do a lot of different, I guess, venues as far as how I sell my jewelry. I started off doing e-commerce selling through the leading printing supplier called Shapeways. And I started out doing that and interfacing with people by means of pictures. But when I get to talk to people in person and they get to touch and feel the jewelry, it's kind of a surreal process of this was made one layer at a time with a laser, and it's such a new concept that something that initially is the equivalent of powdered sugar can be turned into something that is so solid, flexible, and rigid that it can be applied to a lot of different industries. The medium that I chose was jewelry because that's what I enjoy, and that's what I find the easiest for me to create in. But so many different people are 3D printing in other markets for DIY or life hacking. For jewelry specifically, it's been quite interesting to see that this is another way for people to enjoy accessories in a more affordable yet unique way.
Yeah, I think the thing that's interesting, you are working in jewelry. When I first saw my first 3D printed item, actually, I've got a background in AutoCAD, and I was actually out visiting Autodesk, and they had all these different things out there that they had 3D printed. Everything from, on the large end, they had a full-blown motorcycle that had been printed in 3D, to the small end, watch parts.
Yes.
And so you can obviously get very detailed with and accurate with the 3D printed parts. And for people that don't understand the whole way that 3D printing works, is exactly what Jessica was saying there, is you build things up a layer at a time. And so it can be a very small bead or obviously a much coarser bead, depending on what you're doing. But it builds things up a layer at a time so that you are creating an object, unlike traditional CAD CAM stuff where you may have a solid block and you cut things away. You're actually creating this in the first place.
I think it's quite fascinating because there's a lot of like unique geometries you can make with 3D printing that you can't make any other manufacturing method.
Yeah, in fact, there are things that you can do with 3D printing you can't manufacture any other way because of the fact that you're building up layers. And somewhere around here in the office, and I don't even know where I've got it, I've got a ball. It's a sphere, actually, that has got like 6 spheres inside of it, and there's no seams in the thing. And you couldn't do that with traditional manufacturing without having a seam in there because you're building up one ball inside of the other. It is fascinating, like you said.
Yes, absolutely. One of the newest projects that I did, I had interlocking chain. So a lot of people complain about allergies, especially with metal. So I 3D printed chain that's already pre-linked together. and it actually gets printed. It's all compact, very tight, kind of like a big knot inside the printer, and then it comes apart, and we can dye it in any material or any color that you want.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, because a lot of times, like you said, metal chains, they leave marks on you and so forth. But you can print in a variety of materials too. So I know that obviously looks like a plastic chain there, but I know that you can print in metal. There are people in the medical industry that are experimenting with printing with live human tissue.
Yes. Currently, the newest material I've been experimenting with is 3D printed wood. It just seems like every time I turn around, somebody else in the world is coming up with a new material and applying this 3D printing structure of creating something from scratch versus a subtractive process that we already talked about.
That's pretty cool. So you can print anything in 3D, obviously, it seems like anymore, but getting that information, the design file is a 3D model in the first place. Do you have some specific software that you're using to create your designs, or how's that work?
For me, I'm coming from a mechanical engineering background. AutoCAD, Autodesk, Inventor products are kind of my bread and butter. Since I've been using it for a long time for industrial products, it was much easier for me to use the same software that I've known inside and out to create simple one-of-a-kind objects that can be 3D printed versus huge assemblies that have 400 or 500 pieces in them. So my choice is Autodesk Inventor at the moment. They also are coming up with the Autodesk Fusion. I've seen a lot of designers go that way, and that's something that I'm experimenting in right now.
Okay, so there's a lot of different 3D printers out there right now. Just, you know, there's a lot of different laser printers and so forth that we use just to print on paper, but it seems like there's more and more 3D printers coming out all the time, and not unlike a lot of technologies, you know, the printers are getting better and the costs are going down and so forth, so that probably in the not too distant future, we're all going to have 3D printers sitting in our houses, which is going to make life interesting. And instead of you actually sending somebody a physical product, your jewelry or whatever, you might be able to sell them the design file. They can just download it digitally, and now all of a sudden the whole world is digital. It's no longer, I mean, when we started out, you know, movies were a physical product, and now movies are digital. Audio, you know, we used to have records and CDs and stuff. Those are obviously now digital. Pictures used to be physical products, and those are all now digital. We're moving into a world where everything is basically going to be digital.
And that is another can of worms, so to speak, of keeping your intellectual property protected, especially with the new scanning technology of 3D printing, being able to scan someone's object and literally just print it again.
So we're all going to own Lamborghinis and Ferraris and stuff. We just scan one.
You never know.
So all these different 3D printers that are out there, do they use proprietary formats or proprietary materials or anything?
I guess proprietary would be, some do have proprietary materials and combinations of how they do things. The principle is generally the same for all the 3D printers. It's just in what method that they are adding those layers together. My preferred method is the sintering style, where it's a powder base and a laser comes by and it fuses all of those particles together in the pattern that you specify. And then for the more of the, I would assume to call it a consumer model, is more of a sophisticated glue gun, or maybe like a toothbrush, like the toothpaste where it squeezes it out in a pattern. Those are a little bit rougher. Those are good for larger items when you just need a general shape versus jewelry is a little bit more intricate, and it's not as good quality to use those. But as far as it being a proprietary material, there's only a handful that I can think of off the top of my head, but we don't need to get into that.
Okay, so there's, I know one of the really interesting uses that I've seen for 3D printing is rapid prototyping of different devices. You know, I've got a doctor friend that actually built a device, and he was able to 3D print this device so that he could basically then go and show it to his investors and stuff before he would get the thing manufactured in bulk. And I don't know if it, you know, really ready to use 3D printing as the primary manufacturing of some of these devices that are rapid prototype, but it's clearly a whole lot more economical than trying to build it in another fashion.
The best analogy that I've come up with so far is if you go back in time, probably maybe 10 years ago when desktop photo printing first came out. The photo printing, it was okay, but it could have been better. It was still kind of prefer to go to specialists that had the proper photo printing machines, like a Walgreens or a CVS or somebody that had the large industrial machines. And I feel that that's kind of where we're at with 3D printing right now, that you have the consumer models, and then you've got the really nice industrial models. And we only have a select few people that have those industrial ones just because of the price tag. And people are flocking to their orders or their models printed through this because the quality is so much better than the consumer models.
Yeah, and I think that's true, you know, with most technical things, is that, as we talked about already, the prices are going to keep coming down, the quality is going to keep going up, and we're going to see it. I think that this is going to really affect pretty much anybody that's selling anything online. I've got a number of customers right now that sell food products online, and they're kind of, you know, I think being resistant to the fact that, oh, you know, I do something that is culinary and special and stuff, and that's not going to affect me. But the reality, it is. You can print 3D food products right now.
Right. And being more going to a digital world, my specialty is being able to design unique items quickly, and then being able to upload those to a server, such as the company Shapeways. I can upload my 3D models and allow people to print it on demand versus storing that inventory and having physical products that I have to ship out. So it's more of a pull than a let it sit and accumulate and it sells.
Yeah. So one of the downsides, it seems like currently, and again, it's going to be changing here in the next few years, not unlike digital photography did, is that 3D printing is slow.
Yes, patience is a virtue, especially. Yes, many people, they see my products and they say, oh, could you make this? One of the requests I had was a lady was a huge Green Bay Packers fan, and she wanted to have custom-made keys earrings. And of course, that's easy for me to do, so I'm able to model them up, but she wants them tomorrow, and that's not possible, not with 3D printing. You're in a queue, you're in a line, and even for print time, it's a good 24 hours for printing and curing.
Yeah, I think we're used to seeing the Star Trek replicator or whatever, you know, hey, give me a cup of hot tea or whatever, and there it is. And
we're not quite there yet.
We will get there, but you're right, we're not there yet. So, but I think that, you know, in terms of it impacting people that are selling products, well, regardless of how they're selling them, whether they're selling them in a physical store or online, you know, the fact is that we are moving towards this digital economy, and everything is going to end up being there, just like, no one takes film photos anymore because the
Correct.
technology got to that point where it's easier and faster to take digital photos.
Exactly. And I'm anxious to see what's going to transpire from this, but there definitely is a wave of having more of the digital artwork uploaded and ready for people to print on their own, or through a service provider.
Yeah,
It's definitely going that way.
I actually saw an article within the last year talking about how the Chinese are working on a 3D printer to print a house. So even people in the construction industry, you're not immune to this either. It's going to affect absolutely everybody here, and it's going to happen. If you take a look at the way technology has moved forward, this is going to happen in the next 10 years to all of us, regardless of what industry we're in.
I totally agree. There is developers throughout the world. They've already 3D printed a cement castle. They've 3D printed chocolate, the food. They've done ice cream, glass, you name it, and it's really going to go everywhere. It's kind of like the next industrial revolution in my eyes.
Yeah, the thing that's actually really good about this for the U.S. economy, at least, is that what it basically means is we've been shipping all this stuff over to Asia to get manufactured, and we no longer have to do that. We can bring manufacturing back to the U.S. and really concentrate on what we as a society are good at, which is designing and creating products.
Absolutely. I try to source all of my materials and have everything printed in the United States. And I believe that there's a recurring wave of people being able to appreciate that and support their fellow men with their buying made in America or made in the USA products. So it's really refreshing to see more creativity homebound.
Yeah. So do you think that this is going to make it so that more small businesses are able to really get in there and compete and sell products, or is it going to be something where larger companies are really going to take this just because of the fact that, like you said, right now, the printers, the commercial quality printers are big and expensive. Is it something where we're going to see more consolidation and more small companies as we've seen since the internet got started, or is it going to go the other way? What's your opinion?
My personal opinion is it's more of the individual explosion of designers that, oh, I can do this or I can do that. I've taken a couple of computer classes. I mean, they have free CAD software online for people to use anytime. Tinkercad is one of them that I've heard of that people use all the time. So I'm even teaching classes for grade schoolers on how to use 3D printers. So I see a huge explosion when it comes to individual people providing products to other people. I've seen a huge trend for me being in the mechanical engineering world. The company that I currently work for is using 3D printing to be able to create parts for custom tooling solution versus machining things from scratch and having a lot of weight. So I see actually both expanding, but I think the biggest, impact is probably going to be from more of the individual, or what I would assume lone wolf individuals.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I think it is too. And it's, people, there's been more and more people in the last, probably since the internet started, that are working for themselves. And this kind of technology is just going to make it so that even the few people that are still out there working for the man, it's like, hey, I can do this, like you said, and I can have my own product base to sell. Mm-hmm. So it's exciting times.
Yes, it is. And I'm anxious that I started when it was becoming a little bit more known, and people are starting to get on board and understand the benefits to them personally.
Great. Do you happen to have any of your jewelry pieces there that you can stick up?
Yes, I do. Let's see. This piece is a sterling silver, I can get that to the camera, piece. This is in sintered plastic, and then it's got cubic zirconia gemstones that are literally snapped into place. So if I wanted to change the look of this, I could snap the stones out and snap new ones in. And I can print this in metal, or I can print this in plastic. So it applies to a lot of different markets. For those that can't afford to do a 14-karat gold piece, no problem. We'll print the same exact design in plastic and satisfy your pocketbook. So that's kind of the appeal of doing the materials, having the same design, being able to print it in a variety of mediums. Yep.
So great information today. Is there anything else you want to share with people?
Nope. They can find me on all of the major social media venues, and I'm on Etsy and at layersbydesign.com. And if they have any questions, feel free to shout out and I'll see what I can do to answer them.
Okay, great. Well, I appreciate you being here with us today, Jessica. And like she said, go ahead and go to layersbydesign.com, order up some of her jewelry, and see what it is that we're talking about here. Thanks.
Thanks for having me. Have a good day.